So Woon Hui, a poor guy with a broken key center, is kidnapped by the notorious blood cult and forced to become their spy. However, he soon grows tired of his daily suffering and tries to get rid of the shackles that bind him. To achieve his goal, he tries to team up with the Murim Union, partnering with them to find the hidden records of the Sword Sage in exchange for his freedom. But as luck would have it, spies aren't shown any pity in this world. The Murim Union quickly disposes of him. However, just as he breathes his last breath, he is sent back in time to the same day he was kidnapped by the cult. Now, armed with the knowledge of the future, he vows to survive on his second chance at life and not end up in the same position. The story begins in the dead of night at a mountain range in Xinjiang, where a group of men are out searching for something. Probably would have been a better idea to search in the day, but whatever. There, a man named Woon Hui has been on this mountain for 15 days. However, his dreadful days of suffering have finally come to an end. At long last, I have obtained it, he proclaims. And what is it, you might ask? As it turns out, he is after the hidden record of the Sword Sage, a secret scroll left behind by the Sword Sage 600 years ago on this very mountain. Although the scroll is filled with strange letters he cannot understand, he is sure that this must be the genuine thing. Ideally, he would love to keep this mystical record to himself, but there is no use in holding onto it with a broken key center like he does. But that doesn't mean other martial artists wouldn't kill him for this opportunity. Understanding the value of this scroll, he decides to hide it somewhere before someone comes. And the best hiding spot, well, that would obviously be inside him, and out of nowhere, he begins swallowing the scroll. Genius, right? Well, not so much if you immediately start to gag, wishing you had some water handy to get it down. Seems like bro has a liking for stuffing big things inside his mouth. All of a sudden, Murim Su, the branch leader of the Murim Union, and Baek Wei Hyun, an elder of the union, come jostling inside. Murim questions if Woon Hui has found the hidden record, and Woon Hui reveals that he has. What's more, he has stored it in a safe location, willing to hand it over if the union upholds its promise. As it turns out, the Murim Union has promised to cure the dry blood inside Woon Hui's heart, but Murim has other ideas. He announces that there is no need to uphold that promise, since there is no place for poor old Woon Hui to return to, even if he gets cured of his illness. It is explained that Woon Hui is from the Yang clan, but was cast away from the clan due to his broken key center. Because of this, he lost the protection the clan provided, and not long after, he was kidnapped by the blood cult and had his heart implanted with dry blood. Because of this, he was forced to become the cult's puppet and obey their every command. Even if you obtain freedom now, where would you go? Murim Su questions. He wants Woon Hui to hand over the scroll first, and he does so obediently. Maybe he will reconsider removing the dry blood. Alas, Woon Hui doesn't falter. He reveals he has hidden the scroll somewhere, where only he would be able to find it, claiming he will hand it over willingly when the promise is fulfilled. All he wants to do is get rid of these shackles and live life as a normal human. Is that so much to ask for? Well, yes, apparently. The Murim Union is filled with a bunch of cold-hearted people, and without hesitation, Murim Su stabs Woon Hui. In his eyes, there is only one place a spy would hide things: inside their own body. This dude must be a psychic or something. The moment you became a spy, you were destined to die, Murim Su exclaims as he slashes into Woon Hui's belly to extract the scroll. However, his plan backfires when he accidentally slices the scroll as well. Suddenly, just as Woon Hui takes his last breaths, a blue flame engulfs him. But Woon Hui couldn't be less concerned. To him, there is no use thinking about what is going on, but fate has something else in store for him. Moments later, he wakes up once again and finds himself in one piece, with no bruises or scars. As he regains his senses, he finds himself in front of Song Jua Baek and Song Woo Hyun, the Huan twins. Seeing this just leaves him even more confused, and he wonders why he is seeing the younger appearance of these two, with whom he used to be friends in the past. In the first place, wasn't he burning alive just a second ago? Just then, he spots a mirror and realizes that he has the same appearance as he had when he was young. He begins panicking and freaking out, but the Huan twins don't really care and kick him, demanding the booze fee for the drinking competition they had yesterday. Nevertheless, the dazzled Woon Hui questions what day it is, and that is when he connects the dots. He has been sent back in time to 10 years ago. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Realizing this, he is extremely happy. But this isn't the time to be all happy-go-lucky. Outside the inn, the guards station seem to have been attacked by a group of masked assailants. Meanwhile, so Woon Hui begins rummaging through his stuff and finds the small talk sword, the only memento he has of his mother. Apparently, he lost it in his previous life and regretted it a lot. Suddenly, they hear screams from outside. Quickly, so Woon Hui looks out the window to see what is going on, and his worst nightmares come to fruition. If he has been transported 10 years into the past, then that would mean this is the day he was kidnapped by the blood cult. Give the guy a break for Pete's sake. He just got back from the dark abyss called death. Seeing this, he tells the twins to flee this place if they want to live, but they aren't convinced. As far as they know, the blood cult should have disappeared after the Murim Union defeated them. But so Woon Hui doesn't have the leisure of looking after these two and heads out first. He recalls how the twins became experts anyway, after their abduction, so is it really a bad thing for them? Who's to say? To So Woon Hui, everything will be fine as long as he is the only survivor. But that is not the case. He remembers something crucial. There was only one man who sided with him in the entire Yang clan and came here with him. A boy named Ah Song. I can't abandon someone like a brother to me, he exclaims as he dashes to Ah Song's room. Upon reaching, he drags Ah Song out of bed, and they both begin running. On their way, he reveals that the blood cult has invaded and they will soon begin pouring into the inn. Of course, Ah Song has a tough time believing this as well, but decides to just follow whatever his young master is planning. However, even escaping this situation is pretty difficult. As per So Woon Hui, the entire town has been surrounded and they will definitely be captured if they head outside. He explains that the blood cult is not here looking after money, rather, they are here to capture people like them. And just like he said, the blood cult begins rounding up every person they find. To avoid a similar outcome, So Woon Hui suggests they hide somewhere. No one would think to look, and obviously, the only place that would be is the poop storage. Why does the inn even have something like that in the first place? What on earth is poop storage? Seeing this, Ah Song is visibly not prepared to hide in such a place, but he doesn't have the luxury to find somewhere else since So Woon Hui just pushes him down the toilet. But this leaves So Woon Hui with no place to hide. Luckily, he sees a horse stable nearby and gets an ingenious idea. Letting the horse run off, creating a distraction, he hides in the pile of dry straw. I guess if Pete's hiding in whatever a poop storage is, in his mind, this is a good alternative place. Is it really though? However, the attackers will easily find him, using key sense if they are first-rate. In that case, it would be better to stay armed and hence, he grabs onto his weapon. However, as he does so, he suddenly starts hearing voices. At first, he thinks it may be a ghost for something, but no. It's his mother's memento. Guess it wasn't called the small talk sword for nothing. All of a sudden, a small spirit emerges from the sword. Seeing this, So Woon Hui is left disillusioned, questioning if he's just seeing things, but that isn't the case. The fact is, he is right now in a pile of hay, looking at and talking to a spirit. Maybe the reincarnation is causing him to hallucinate or something. Suddenly, he hears footsteps outside and unsheathes his weapon, preparing for the worst. The attacker, after finding some footsteps, knows there is something inside the hay and moves in to kidnap him. Inside, the spirit questions if So Woon Hui is really planning on attacking. Aren't you completely scared? The spirit asks. However, So Woon Hui claims that this is far from reality. Just as the attacker gets close, he jumps out and makes the first move, stabbing the blood cult assailant in the neck. Scared? Are you joking? He's excited. I'll survive in this life, no matter what, he vows. Witnessing this ferocious display, the spirit is impressed. Until now, she only thought So Woon Hui was good for nothing, who only wastes his days drinking, but I guess first impressions aren't everything. Well, she's not far off though. However, So Woon Hui would just appreciate it if she could quiet down. All of her bickering is distracting, especially when he has to hide a corpse. Regardless, he decides to ignore the spirit for now and begins thinking about his next plan. Apparently, the blood cult goes out on missions in 3-man teams, meaning the teammates of the guy he just killed will come looking soon. Although he has hidden the corpse, it's just a matter of time until he gets caught. Under these circumstances, if he is discovered, the cult is sure to kill him. As a result, his best bet is to finish up here and book it out of this place. However, the spirit begins interrupting yet again. Well, this time, she has a good reason. She reveals that a blood cult member is standing right behind them. Hearing this, Woon Hui turns back and finds that he is screwed. The masked attacker, standing afar, is leisurely watching the desperate Woon Hui clean up the mess he has made. A weird hobby, but whatever floats his boat. Meanwhile, Woon Hui is left in despair after seeing the attacker's waistband. According to him, a maroon waistband indicates that the attacker is a middle-class warrior, and he immediately goes into panic mode, preparing for a brawl and taking up a stance. In his mind, the current him is no match for a middle-class warrior. In response, the opponent inches closer as well. To him, it is obvious that Woon Hui hasn't trained in any martial arts, but still, disregarding the sneak attack, the fact he managed to kill a low-class warrior is pretty amazing. This feat alone would make Woon Hui at least a middle-class fighter, and hence, he gives him an offer. If you do not resist, I will at least keep you alive. But this just gives Woon Hui another opportunity. He tries to taunt his foe, claiming he had no intention of capturing him in the first place. In that case, maybe the attacker is just afraid of dying, just like his comrade. Woon Hui wants to lead the attacker off guard by pretending to be a flashy rookie. Alas, his plan fails to work. The foe just gets closer and closer, still on guard, and begins laughing maniacally. With this, the attacker unsheathes his weapon, claiming he will now test whether Woon Hui has the skills to back up his big talk. He probably doesn't, to be honest. And so, a battle ensues. The attacker is able to get the first swing in, but Woon Hui is able to dodge the blows, just in the nick of time. With this, he tries to launch a counter, but his foe simply grabs his arm and lifts him up into the air. He announces that although Woon Hui has good eyes, he's slow. Regardless, his counterattack was pretty good, and hence, he gives him another chance to join the cult. Little does he know, Woon Hui is a big Game of Thrones fan. Just like Arya Stark's knife trick in the last season, which is pretty bad if you ask me, he drops his weapon, only to catch it with the other hand, and deliver a finishing strike. Seeing this, Woon Hui breathes a sigh of relief, but it isn't the time for that. Much to his bafflement, despite getting stabbed point blank, the assailant is able to get away with just a scratch. Well, more like a gash. Also, how is his eye not busted up? Bro must be strengthening his eyeballs or something. Nevertheless, he has now reached his limit. Having gotten sneak attacked, the blood cult member is left enraged and kicks Woon Hui in the stomach, sending him flying and crashing. The kick alone deals significant damage, so much so that Woon Hui begins losing hope. His motivation to live vanished pretty damn quickly. Was I thinking too optimistically? He wonders. Now, all he can do is fight head-on, and he already saw what would happen. Just then, the spirit intervenes yet again, offering a helping hand to her owner. As far as she can see, there's no way Woon Hui is winning this battle, but Woon Hui refuses her help, thinking she won't be of much use anyway. Wow, dude, misogyny much? Consequently, he then plans to use the weakness he just created and charge at the attacker from his blind side. Alas, the attacker has already realized he shouldn't be going easy on this opponent. Despite just wanting to bring him back at first, the attacker is now determined to end Woon Hui's life right here and right now. As such, he dashes in at full speed and unleashes a barrage of slashes. On the other hand, Woon Hui recognizes this technique to be the blood cult's basic sword technique, killing blood. However, recognizing the attack makes no difference if he can't even see the blows coming at him. What's more, the attacker is just playing around, delivering maximum pain, while not aiming for any critical wounds. He's planning to kill me after decidedly toying me around. Damn, that's brutal. I like this guy. Not long after, having had his fill of fun, the attacker moves in to land the ending strike, leaving Woon Hui in a pickle. He wonders if he should just close his eyes and guess where the attack is coming from. The spirit has a way better idea, telling him that a frontal stab is incoming. Taking her advice, Woon Hui is able to block the blow, leaving both him and his foe surprised. What? I thought she wouldn't be of much help, and the spirit couldn't be smugger about her help. As per her, she can see past all these attacks, especially considering the technique is performed by a third-rate nobody. Ouch, getting dissed by a small girl. must hurt his pride. With this, she asks if she should just continue butting out of the fight, but having now witnessed her power, so Woon Hui is forced to ask for help. Hearing this, the spirit is more than raring to help, remarking that she can't let a rare species, with whom she can talk, die. Nonetheless, even if they see the incoming blows, is there even a way to attack back? Unfortunately, in So Woon Hui's current state, that is going to be hard. The foe has already been countered once already, and he would now be wary, meticulously keeping the distance. But if they can be patient, the chance will come. On the other hand, the attacker is left perplexed, but chalks it up to luck. As a result, he moves into attack once more, but with the help of the spirit. So Woon Hui is able to block all the attacks with ease. In addition, the blood is making it hard for the blood cult assassin to see, giving the duo their much-needed window of opportunity. So Woon Hui manages to get into the blind spot and gets close enough to land a decisive slash. But this was all part of the assassin's plan. As soon as he gets close enough, he delivers a swift kick, knocking So Woon Hui back. Seeing his opponent hurt, he then jumps on him to end things once and for all. Alas, So Woon Hui isn't as stupid as he looks. It turns out he was just faking being hurt, and the moment the attacker closes the distance, So Woon Hui changes to a reverse grip and spins around, slicing his foe's neck and bringing him down. As the assassin slowly bleeds out, this marks the victory for the new dynamic duo. Seeing his display, the spirit is left mesmerized and compliments his prowess, although it wouldn't have been possible without her help. As such, he thanks her, leading to her acting all bashful, even though she was so smug until now. Trying to hide her embarrassment, she tells him to clean the blood off of the sword. However, when he does so, she suddenly tells him to duck. Alas, he is too late in reacting, and out of nowhere, a punch comes flying his way, hitting him straight in the face. There, it is revealed that yet another blood cult assassin has come here. Worried about the rest of his team, he rushes to find them, but is left disappointed after learning that his comrades were taken down by a rookie. All the while, So Woon Hui is left seeing stars after the punch and collapses to the ground, bleeding profusely. After getting knocked out, So Woon Hui was captured, and his identity was revealed. Not only that, the cult quickly learned that he's quite infamous, known as a good-for-nothing in the Hunan province as the Yulong Prefecture Foal. While So Woon Hui has an emotional breakdown and sheds tears, the group digs deeper, figuring out that he has lost his key center due to an injury and consequently was disowned by his family. Because of his background, one of the cult members suggests they raise So Woon Hui as an agent, but the leader isn't keen on this idea. As per him, there is no need to raise a child without a key center. A valid point if you ask me. In his state, it's obvious that he'll die without even completing basic training. What's more, despite being a child of an honorable family, he has wet himself in fear. Where would we use a child like him? He questions. Because of this, he cannot even be considered damaged goods, and it's better to just get rid of him. Hearing this, So Woon Hui goes into despair. He begins begging for his life, claiming he will become anything they want if the group spares him. However, this is all a blast from the past. This is the story of how he was captured and begged for mercy in his prior life. But even though he did everything to avoid such an outcome, here he is in the same situation. Well, not exactly. In the past, he wasn't even considered a threat, but this time, his hands have been tied up, indicating he is now at least slightly better than he used to be. As such, he tries to communicate with small talk sword, but is unable to do so, concluding he needs to be in direct contact in order to communicate. But that's not all. There are a few things that have also changed. For better or for worse, the blood cult leader compliments So Woon Hui for being able to take down 2 of his men, even with a broken key center. Hearing these words, So Woon Hui feels relieved. In his mind, the blood cult is a utilitarian organization, and hence, at this point, he thinks they would take him in. According to him, if this happens, he can survive for now and escape whenever he finds a chance. But, much to his surprise, the leader wants to discard So Woon Hui and move on. His reasoning is that there are a lot of young talents with fine key centers. If so, what use is there for keeping such low-quality goods? This guy's the most sensical villain I have ever seen. This leaves So Woon Hui in a pickle. Understanding that death will come for him if nothing is done, he begs, just like he did in his past life, But isn't it enough? The leader wants compensation for the men he has killed, and so one of the subordinates unsheathes his weapon and prepares to take Woon Hui's head clean off. Now, with only a few precious seconds, Woon Hui's eyes begin darting around, trying to find any way to at least buy some time. He doesn't want to die again, this time even faster than the last when he has been sent to redo his life. Seeing this, the leader begins to chuckle and questions, if he's so desperate, why doesn't Woon Hui just beg like a dog? If he did that, the leader could consider keeping him as a pet. But there is a certain someone behind the leader, someone who Woon Hui recognizes. The sword this someone is carrying is familiar to him, and out of nowhere, he bows his head and greets the fourth blood star. This announcement leaves everyone baffled, whereas the leader is completely unconvinced since there is no reason for a blood star to be here. Alas, much to everyone's shock, what Woon Hui said is the truth. Immediately, all the blood cultists bow to the blood star. On the other hand, Woon Hui explains that there are 11 people who lead the blood cult, but despite being a spy for them, he hasn't seen the fourth or seventh blood star in his past life. Regardless, he heard of a rumor that the blood stars disguise themselves as low-rank warriors to inspect the squads. Slowly, the fourth blood star, Du Ho, comes closer to him, commenting on how no one has ever caught him during his inspections. He questions how an outsider recognized him, and Woon Hui reveals it was due to the swords, knot, and accessories. Hearing this, Du Ho is left even more intrigued, but wants to know how this outsider knows all that. Of course, Woon Hui knows he looks highly suspicious, but for him, this is nothing out of the norm. As a spy, he has had to face numerous situations like this in the past, and he begins fabricating a story, claiming he knows because the blood of the cult runs through his veins. He claims that his maternal grandfather fought in the War of Order and Chaos as a low-rank blood squad warrior, but was dismissed due to a fatal injury. As a result, he left the war to find a place to live out his life with his daughter, Woon Hui's mother. Consequently, they ended up in Yulong, where he found a place to stay, avoiding the war. However, his injuries didn't improve. Therefore, in order to buy medicine for him, which is increasing in price at a rapid rate, Woon Hui's mother started working in the Yiyang clan as a servant, where she fell in love with his father, and Woon Hui was born. But this short story isn't enough to fool the fourth blood star, and he wishes to know more. Hence, Woon Hui continues, talking about how his grandfather trained him when he was young. Whenever he was unable to endure the training, his grandfather compared him to the blood squad captain, Nojo Am, and his son, No Sung Su, commenting on how the captain's son was able to go through the cult's harsh training at a young age. Bro's grandpa is dissing him. Apparently, the grandfather said that the blood cult would come to find them one day, and he even left a will on his deathbed, showing how he longed to return to the cult. Dude, this is the most elaborate lie I have ever heard. Did you come up with that on the spot? Hearing all this, Du Ho slowly begins to believe Woon Hui. However, the squad leader isn't fully convinced. He proclaims that this is all a bunch of nonsense, but the fourth blood star stares daggers at him. Who told you to interfere? He questions while emanating bloodlust. Sensing the danger, the squad leader immediately apologizes and begs for forgiveness, making even Woon Hui shocked. Regardless, there is still something Du Ho finds strange. He asks if this is all true, then why didn't Woon Hui reveal his origin to the squad leader and choose to beg instead? But, like the unshaken wall he is, Woon Hui explains he was afraid of the punishment for killing his comrades if he let out the truth. Nevertheless, this is good enough, at least for now. Du Ho begins laughing out loud, exclaiming that Woon Hui is basically one of them, and wishes to bring him back to the cult. And for Woon Hui, this is the best opportunity to survive. He accepts this offer, commenting on how his grandfather would be glad. All the while, he's just happy about making it out alive, despite still going to the blood cult in the end. And just like that, Woon Hui is free from his shackles, and praises Du Ho. On the flip side, despite being happy about living to see another day, he's still bummed out that he has to go back to the cult again. If he knew this would happen, he would have been better off not killing anyone. Meanwhile, after accepting Woon Hui into the cult, Du Ho begins walking back when he suddenly stops. Apparently, According to him, it is fate that one of their descendants has come back to them, and hence he allows So Woon Hui's one wish to be granted. Hearing this, So Woon Hui is left perplexed, thinking this must be a test of some sort. Nevertheless, without knowing the Blood Star's intentions, he has to give an appropriate answer and asks for his mother's memento to be returned to him. To this, Du Ho orders the squad leader to bring him the small talk sword, but the squad leader is hesitant, claiming So Woon Hui is a dangerous guy with his weapon. But Du Ho isn't in the mood to be questioned and demands it. With this, he then inspects the weapon and announces that price must be paid for killing the cult members. Consequently, he snaps the tip of the dagger and flicks it towards So Woon Hui, warning him to swing his weapon carefully next time. As the dagger comes his way, So Woon Hui is left distressed. How much reverberation the weapon has, that too just a mere flick. It's a truly terrifying force, he thinks, deeming this to be a show of power to keep him in line. Regardless, now that he has gotten possession of his mother's keepsake, he gets back on his feet and grabs it, only to be bombarded with the spirit's screams. Women, am I right? Apparently, the tip being snapped off has shortened the spirit's hair, leaving her enraged. But So Woon Hui vows to make a blacksmith fix her up. But things don't end there. The spirit then gets curious, asking if So Woon Hui really is a blood cult member. However, So Woon Hui explains this isn't a lie, but it's not the truth either. In his mind, it should be alright to tell this spirit everything, and he asks if she would believe him if he said he came from 10 years in the future, leaving the spirit's face painted with utter confusion. I'd do the same, to be honest. On the other hand, Du Ho orders the squad to send someone to investigate So Woon Hui's origin. To him, it doesn't matter if what So Woon Hui said was the truth or not, but his mannerisms are concerning. The whole time, So Woon Hui was watching Du Ho's every gesture, trying to figure out his intentions like a skilled spy. In addition, he knows way too much about the cult, and it would be for the best to keep him under tight watch. Anyway, with this ordeal behind them, the captives, along with So Woon Hui, are then taken to the cult headquarters. On the way, So Woon Hui tells everything to the small talk sword, who is convinced by his story. However, upon hearing his story, she comments on how unlucky he is to have all this hard work wasted due to being captured again. In the first place, this wouldn't have happened if he just abandoned Ah Song. But that was never an option. As it turns out, Ah Song was the only one in the Yang clan who treated So Woon Hui as a human being. What's more, in his past life, Ah Song even sacrificed his life in order to protect So Woon Hui. This was a heavy debt he carried throughout his stay with the blood cult, but at last, he has settled it today. What an upstanding guy. Can't believe he's a good for nothing. Nonetheless, that's all in the past, and he just has to focus on surviving now. But the spirit isn't really keen on this thought process. She argues that So Woon Hui has the best weapon, information. He knows all the bad things that will take place in advance, and thanks to his experience, he can even take advantage of these tragedies to make them work in his favor. If so, then why is he just focused on merely surviving? Give the guy a break. He just got back from the future and was just abducted. At least give him some time to think things through for Pete's sake. But upon hearing her words, So Woon Hui begins thinking she is right and decides to make use of all the knowledge of the future he has. Heck, there's even a chance he can relearn martial arts, but this surprises the spirit, who is confused as to how a guy with a broken key center can do so. To this, So Woon Hui explains there is some uncertain information, but decides to skip it for now, since it is pretty far into the future. As such, the spirit suggests that in case So Woon Hui gets his key back, she can teach him the arts. She is the only one who knows of a secret sword art that her previous owner used, but So Woon Hui isn't convinced that it's possible. I mean, learning martial arts from a sword? What has she been smoking? However, this offends her to no end. She begins scolding So Woon Hui and adamantly demands that he listen carefully as she recites the texts. But as soon as they begin the lecture, something strange happens. Out of nowhere, a blue flame appears on his hand and completely engulfs him, teleporting him into a dark abyss. Seeing this, he is left baffled. Also, how on earth does this guy have chiseled abs? Wasn't he supposed to be a weakling? All of a sudden, he hears a voice. Having acquired the sword mind, the door shall open, the voice proclaims. But this just leaves So Woon Hui even more confused than before. He is certain this isn't the spirit's voice, but before he has time to figure things out, he is sent back to the caravan, where the spirit is pissed off that he isn't paying any attention, even when she is putting her all into reciting the texts. But so Woon Hui has more important things to think about and questions if she can see what he sees, a bunch of dots in the shape of the Big Dipper constellation on the back of his hand. But this just pisses off the small talk sword even more, who thinks so Woon Hui was so bored from her lecture that he is daydreaming. Enraged, she decides to go back into her sword, telling him to not talk to her. Until they reach their destination, though so Woon Hui explains it will take them like 2 weeks to get there. Anyway, finally getting some time to himself, he begins contemplating what just happened. Intently staring at his hand, he wonders about the blue flame, which also appeared when he was sent back in time. To him, all this just leads to one conclusion. I'm sure it has something to do with the hidden record of the Sword Sage. Alas, that was the last time the blue flame appeared, in front of so Woon Hui, who kept staring at his hand throughout the entire journey. Now, that's what you call being obsessed. He wonders what he should do to make the flame appear again, but before he can find an answer, the caravan suddenly stops. Just then, one of the blood cult members enters the carriage and orders the captured people to hurry up and get out, warning them not to try anything funny or else they will immediately get slain. As a result, it all began gathering. Even the small talk sword spirit, upon hearing the commotion, wakes up from her slumber and questions where they are, learning that they are currently in the Cultivating Blood Valley, one of the blood cult's bases used as an education facility to transform their prey into blood cult warriors. Obviously, though, there is no education that's going to be taking place. In addition, they see one man standing on a platform, revealing him to be none other than the conquering blood group leader, Hu Sang-won, who happens to be the one who oversees the training done in this place. Luckily, so Woon Hui isn't alone in this experience. Out of nowhere, a voice calls out to him, and he finds the Hunan brothers right next to him. There, Jiwa Beck mocks So Woon Hui, claiming he acted as if he knew everything, but was still captured in the end. Apparently, So Woon Hui didn't find any trace of the twins and thought they managed to escape, whereas the brothers are just glad to see a familiar face in this disastrous situation. What bad friends, if I do say so myself. However, upon noticing no constraints on So Woon Hui, Jiwa Beck asks why he isn't tied up like the rest of them, but So Woon Hui just dismisses the question, proclaiming it's complicated to explain. Alas, their conversation is broken up by the squad leader who captured So Woon Hui. He tells everyone to run towards the platform before he finishes counting to 5, providing no further explanation. However, our boy has already been through all this once before and already knows what is going on. Before he can even finish his sentence, So Woon Hui begins making his way to the platform. Seeing this, the Human twins ask what he is doing, and So Woon Hui just tells them to follow him if they don't want to die, leaving the twins speechless. Nonetheless, they decide to just do as he said and begin running. And this proves to be one of the best decisions they have made so far. Just behind them, one of the blood cult members unsheathes his sword and begins slashing anyone not on the platform. Seeing the massacre unfold, the kidnappees, who are already wetting their pants, heed their kidnappers' words and begin running. All the while, the twins are left baffled, just like the time at the inn. It seems like So Woon Hui knows what will happen beforehand. Although they don't know what is going on, they realize their best bet to survive is following So Woon Hui, and they vow to do just that. Anyway, once they reach the platform, So Woon Hui and the twins bow in front of Gu Sang-won, who is left impressed. In his entire life, he has never seen a child take up position before being told to do so, making him realize that this must be the child's squad leader O reported. Meanwhile, the small talk sword is also curious about her master's actions, and he explains he has to do at least this much, since he has claimed to be a descendant of the cult. Regardless, this marks the end of the selection round. Gu Sang-won explains that all those who survived will now become members of the cult. But hearing these words, the survivors lose their minds. In the first place, they didn't even know they were captured by the blood cult, but now they have to join them. What nonsense. One of the kidnappees gets fed up with all this BS and makes a stand for himself. He announces that once the Murim Union finds out about all this, they will all meet their demise. But a notorious organization like the Blood Cult will not allow any resistance. Without hesitation, one of the members splits the man's head wide open. And that is the reality of the situation. In the Blood Cult, the weak can die anytime. According to Woon Hui, this is all a strategy to coerce loyalty by inciting fear, a rather effective tactic, if I say so myself. Anyway, with the rebellious ones out of the picture, Gusong Wong announces they will begin the cult entrance ritual. But first, he asks if Woon Hui knows what will happen in this ritual. And, as if he has already been through all this before, Woon Hui replies that they will be ingesting a blood parasite. This poisonous insect dwells deep inside one's heart to raise the vigilance of immature members, ensuring they do not betray the cult. In order to fight off death from this poisonous insect, everyone must take a life pill every 24 hours. If not, the parasite will run wild and kill the host. Hearing these words from Woon Hui, the Punun twins, especially Jiwa Beck, are left perplexed and question how the Yulong Prefecture Foal knows all this. On the other hand, Gusong Wong is left more impressed, claiming this is to be expected of a descendant of the cult, and in response to his perfect reply, Gusong Wong gives Woon Hui an honor, the chance to prove his loyalty to the cult and prove his lineage as a cult member. He makes Woon Hui the first in line to receive the blood parasite, and knowing there is no way to escape swallowing this poisonous insect, Woon Hui just accepts his fate and willingly goes up to face the challenge head-on. All the while, I was watching everything unfold from the sidelines, commenting on how it looks like Gusong Wong has already taken a liking to Woon Hui, despite his origin not yet being confirmed. Nevertheless, there is no need to worry, since everything will soon be revealed. The preparations are complete, he sinisterly chuckles. With this, Woon Hui swallows the insects, and the others are told to do the same. Ew, that sounds disgusting. There, the spirit is left amazed that Woon Hui lived his past life with a blood parasite in his heart, but something seems wrong this time. Out of nowhere, he suddenly feels an intense pain in his heart, a pain he had never experienced in his past life. Seeing his condition, the spirit gets concerned and asks what's wrong, to which Woon Hui explains that he feels a different pain, although it is definitely in the location where the blood parasite is. However, as far as he knows, there is no reason for a blood parasite to go wild without a reason. So why is he in this situation right now? Suddenly, he sees the image of O watching him suffer from afar and realizes that he must have done something. As Woon Hui collapses to the ground, O comes up to him. In a mocking tone, he makes fun of Woon Hui, telling him he is a weakling. Who would have thought that a descendant of the cult would have to suffer this much in the sacred entrance ritual? All the while, wriggling in pain, there is only one question in Woon Hui's mind. What did he do to the blood parasite inside my body? Seeing him in intense pain, Gusong Wong asks what is wrong with the trainee? And he explains that the blood parasite that Woon Hui swallowed was provoked, hence the excruciating pain he is experiencing. As such, he decides to cure Woon Hui of his suffering, telling him to turn his back, so he can use his ki to calm the parasite down. But this confuses Woon Hui, who thought all this was O's plan. However, just before they get ready for the procedure, something begins to happen. Woon Hui comments on how his pain is slowly traveling downwards. Out of nowhere, he hastily tells O to stop since he is fine now. But O just disregards him, claiming if he doesn't do this quickly, the rookie might suffer internal injuries and even die. Consequently, he just tells the rookie to tighten his abdomen. Alas, Woon Hui grows more and more concerned with each passing second. His face drops and he wants to stop O before everything goes down the drain. Alas, his efforts are futile just before O begins channeling his ki. Woon Hui farts right in his face, leaving him pissed off to no end. And all Woon Hui can do is try to defend himself. I told you, didn't I? That I'm fine, he mumbles out, too afraid to face the enraged squad leader behind him. Now, why did he just do that? He's up for a whooping. Nevertheless, this marks the end of his entrance ritual. But, just like myself, Small Talk isn't able to control her laughter. Non-stop, she continues mocking and teasing Woon Hui for his bold movement. Apparently, ever since he got here, she was bored to no end. But Woon Hui has been entertaining her, though Woon Hui just tells her to stop, since he's already very troubled as it is. What? because you farted on the squad leader? I would be troubled too in that scenario, but that is not the case. As it turns out, so Woon Hui is concerned about the blood parasite. As per him, the pain completely disappeared, and the weird sensation in his chest is gone. All of a sudden, Jiwa Beck comes up to him, asking him where they are going next. But he who's so Woon Hui isn't sure of everything. Rather, he just doesn't want to tell anything to this ungrateful punk. As a result, they both start bickering back and forth. But O intervenes. Addressing all the rookies, he announces that we'll now perform grade evaluations. He tells them all to do as they are told. However, his presence makes So Woon Hui a bit worried. In his past life, the evaluation was performed by another squad leader, and he wonders if this change is because of what just happened now. Nevertheless, O continues to explain the test. Inside the caves behind him, there are several cult examiners, and the rookies have to be evaluated by each one of them. Once they are tested, they will receive a plaque based on their grade, so it'd be for the best if they gave it their all. Obviously, the cult places great emphasis on individual strength, and O begins to explain the grades. The grades are indicated by the waistbands the warriors wear. The waistband the squad leader is wearing is a blue band, revealing he is an advanced grade warrior, the highest rank. Apparently, if one reaches the advanced grade, the parasite inside of them will be removed, and he tells everyone to strive to become the best, and in return, they will be rewarded for it. Hearing these words, everyone's face lights up with hope, and they begin gossiping. But not so Woon Hui's. He already knows this is the way they manipulate the rookies into becoming bona fide members. However, O isn't too happy with all the commotion and decides to punish them. Out of nowhere, he brings out a red flute and plays it, and as soon as he does so, So Woon Hui covers his ears. Of course, Jiwa Beck is left perplexed, especially since the flute sound isn't really that loud. But only seconds later, all the rookies feel an immense pain inside their body and fall to the ground. Consequently, So Woon Hui explains that whenever that red flute is blown, the blood parasites in their body will begin rampaging. But there is something strange. Even though he is sure he heard the flute, he has no pain in his body, as they all shriek in pain. O claims he just told them about the advanced grade benefits, since it is customary and, in reality, only a few will be able to attain that rank. The rest, well, they just have to live the rest of their lives with this parasite inside them. Ah, what a cruel mistress fate can be. Still, the show must go on. O orders everyone to get back up, and they immediately do so, fearing the flute. The fear tactic is working pretty well, if you ask me. On the other hand, So Woon Hui, though not certain, begins thinking that maybe he doesn't have a parasite in his chest. Obviously, small talk suggests it might be, because he covered his ears, but despite this, he cannot make the parasite stop rampaging completely. He would love to check his theory, but unfortunately for him, he has no key center, a glaring weak spot. Meanwhile, Jiwa Beck has already come to terms with the situation. Knowing full well there is no way out, he vows to become an advanced rank and leave So Woon Hui in the dust. You know, because he doesn't have a key center, and then take his revenge. But this just leaves So Woon Hui baffled, and he wonders what the heck is wrong with this Hunan idiot. Out of nowhere, Jiwa Beck raises his hand, announcing he wants to be the first to get tested. Meanwhile, the small talk explains that Jiwa Beck is just angry. So Woon Hui didn't answer him earlier. Now that's what you call pettiness. Nevertheless, Bo calls Jiwa Beck forward, who enthusiastically begins running into the cave. However, unbeknownst to him, Bo just wants to punch him in the face, knocking him to the ground. Although it might sound obvious, there is no doing whatever one pleases here, and the rookies are only to move when they are instructed to do so. With this, O then advances closer to So Woon Hui, revealing he is the first one to take the grade evaluation. Hearing this, So Woon Hui understands that O is planning something again. Understanding he is only going to make his second chance at life harder. Alas, he cannot disobey and ventures inside the cave, whereas the squad leader lines up the others. Inside, So Woon Hui is feeling kind of emotional. He never thought he would have to take this test once more and feels a bit nostalgic. Wow, dude, masochist much? As he heads deeper into the cave, Small Talk asks what grade he had in his prior life, and he reveals he was just a basic grade. The basic grade rookies are considered the bottom of the barrel and have to start out doing miscellaneous work. What's more, they are treated like disposable manpower, resulting in their experience being more difficult than any other. Suddenly, as he ventures deeper and deeper. He is encountered by someone whose voice Woon Hui finds familiar. Apparently, he knows the person standing in front of him very well, since he was a direct superior of his in his past life, a man named No Sang-gu, the captain of the Blood Wolf squad. Upon seeing Woon Hui, No Sang-gu questions if he is in fact Woon Hui from the Yulong prefecture. Hearing this, Woon Hui thinks he has hit the jackpot. In his mind, he was able to fool Du Jiang-ho, who was an utter stranger to him. In that case, it would be a breeze to trick someone he already knows quite well. At least that's what he thinks. He reveals that he is, in fact, Woon Hui, and claims he has heard a lot about the Blood Wolf captain from his grandfather. But No Sang-gu isn't buying his nonsense. That's an obvious lie. He proclaims, as luck would have it, the captain has already checked Woon Hui's backstory, and, as far as he knows, there was no warrior in the Blood Wolf squad that fits the profile of Woon Hui's grandfather. "Who the hell are you?" he questions. Apparently, not the same guy he pretended to be. Out of nowhere, the squad leader grabs Woon Hui by the neck. With bloodlust in his eyes, he questions if this child has a death wish. As it turns out, he is trained in the Blood Wolf squad from the bottom rank, and knows everyone who served under his father by name. On the other hand, as Woon Hui gets choked out, the small talk appears, worried about her master, since his lie has already gotten caught. No Sang-gu seems like a kinky guy. She tells him to pull out his weapon, since he can't fight a person of such caliber by himself, but as per Woon Hui, that would only make the situation worse. First, he wants to try and talk with No Sang-gu, but the captain doesn't seem to be in any mood for conversations. Without hesitation, he begins attacking Woon Hui. Luckily, the small talk is already in action and warns her master about the incoming attack. Thanks to her, he is able to barely block the attack, despite feeling the intense shockwave resonate throughout his body. How can anyone be so fast? He wonders, but he doesn't really have the luxury to sit around and find out. Continuing his rampage, No Sang-gu kicks him in the stomach, sending him crashing into the cave wall and causing him to vomit up blood. The force of the blow is so hard that he begins losing consciousness, and he remarks on how the captain's ruthless personality is still the same. But that's not all. He looks to be bleeding profusely from the back of his head as well. However, that wasn't even a fraction of No Sang-gu's full strength. If he really kicked him with full power, there is no way Woon Hui would have been able to get back up. Alas, that's just the opening act. The captain continues his barrage and comes dashing in. And even though small talk, which the translators have now decided to call Sodom, and so will I, tries to warn him, he is in no condition to fight. He is overwhelmed by dizziness, so much so that his vision is all blurry. Nevertheless, Sodom tells him to just move as per her instruction. Seeing a horizontal slash aiming for her master's neck, she tells him to block the strike, and he manages to do just that. Although he gets flung back, all the same, this leaves Sang-gu surprised, whereas Woon Hui loses possession of his weapon. As a result, as he lies on the ground, Sang-gu steps on him and orders him to speak. And this gives Woon Hui the chance he was so desperately looking for. These words assure him that Sang-gu wants to interrogate him first, and he has to use this opportunity or else he will meet his creator. In a desperate attempt, he asks if the squad leader wants to find his little sister, but Sang-gu is just more pissed off hearing this. He reveals that his sister has already died and points his weapon at his throat. But Woon Hui doesn't falter, proclaiming No Siwa is alive. On the day his father was murdered, his sister was abducted. Of course, Sang-gu doesn't really believe him, but he keeps on pushing. He questions why her corpse was the only one burned, deeming that corpse to be a fake, and states that if the leader wants to know more, they will strike a deal. Just like that, Sang-gu decides to give Woon Hui a chance, stabbing his sword into the ground. Right beside Woon Hui's head, he decides to listen to what he has to say for now, and claims he will do what he deems fit after hearing him out. He asks where his sister is now, if she is really alive, and Woon Hui reveals that she is with the Flower Moon Merchant Association, belonging to the solitary blood saint. All this leads Sang-gu to one conclusion. The person behind his father's death is none other than the leader of the Flower Moon Association, Zhang Riyang. But there's no way that is true, right? The wounds on Sang-gu's father's corpse were definitely made by the Orthodox sect. But is that really the case? did the squad leader see for himself? No. The ones who confirmed the wounds and recovered the corpse were members of the Flower Moon in the first place, making it easy for them to fool Sang-gu. Hearing this, the leader begins to waver, and our sly spy notices this. As such, so Woon Hui continues talking, revealing the girl is in the Zhejiang Jinhai County branch of the Flower Moon, telling Sang-gu to send some of his trusted men to confirm this information. And so, Sang-gu decides to believe in So Woon Hui for the time being. However, if he finds out what So Woon Hui said was a lie, he vows to take off his head, no matter where he is. But the rookies claim he has no reason to lie, especially since he has already swallowed the blood parasite. He wishes the captain would find his sister soon, and Sang-gu helps him back on his feet, though he still doesn't fully trust what this shady guy has said. If his information is true, Sang-gu promises to treat him like his benefactor for the rest of his life. Hearing this, So Woon Hui thanks the squad leader, commenting on how he is as magnanimous as he had heard. In his mind, he explains that his straightforward nature is the reason he was able to trust Sang-gu and follow him in his previous life as well. Anyways, this marks the end of the grade evaluations, and unlike last time, So Woon Hui is granted a middle rank plaque. As it turns out, being able to block the attacks of a squad leader twice is deserving of at least this rank. With this, Sang-gu sheathes his weapon and asks if he has heard of his personal story from his grandfather, claiming he will play along with this story for now. I don't know if you were smart or just stupid, he proclaims. In the first place, So Woon Hui hasn't even mentioned his grandfather's name until now, yet he still spilled everything when he was pushed around a bit. Regardless, though he doesn't know what this child is planning, Sang-gu wants to trust him this once and lets him go. Nonetheless, having received his grade, So Woon Hui heads back. On the way, Sodom comments on how she thought So Woon Hui would be toast when she was flung aside. Meanwhile, as he walks out, Sang-gu remarks on how he has encountered a strange guy. In his eyes, this boy seems very mature, considering he was able to stay calm in the face of death, not to mention the moves he just pulled off. Even if he got lucky and blocked the first attack, he had his eyes closed on the second strike. Even though it might sound ridiculous, it's as if someone's helping him. Still, it's not like he hates these kinds of strange guys. With this, So Woon Hui walks out the gate, where Jua Beck is left speechless at how this famous good-for-nothing has managed to get the middle rank plaque, which he shows off to all his peers. And so Squad Leader O takes all the middle ranks with him to another place. As it turns out, both Hunan twins have managed to get the same rank as So Woon Hui, and Jua Beck questions how a weakling with a broken key center is able to attain the same grade as him. Nevertheless, he vows to overtake his rival in the next test. However, he is just a nuisance to So Woon Hui, who has enemies on all sides. Even O is pretty annoyed at the outcome of the evaluation, seeing as how he has now lost the excuse to pick on So Woon Hui after no Sang-gu has vouched for his identity. Regardless, as the rookies follow O, Sobodum asks what her master intends to do going forward, and he reveals that in order to do anything, he has to first fix his key center. A pretty big first hurdle, if you ask me. Of course, Sodom has been curious about this topic ever since her master first mentioned it, and so Woon Hui finally elaborates. Apparently, there is someone known as the all-healing divine physician, who is known for being able to cure everything, and he will work his magic, as long as one can pay the price. According to the rumor, he has already healed someone's center in the past, and as luck would have it, this physician will be coming to the Blood Valley in 6 days. Now that's what you call plot armor, but unfortunately, So Woon Hui has left all his money at the inn, leading Sodom to only one conclusion. Her good-for-nothing master is planning on selling her. Thinking this, she begins scolding and beating So Woon Hui, but that was never his plan. He wants to find a certain herb and use it as the fee. The physician is after this specific herb, and considering the circumstances, if he plays his cards right, So Woon Hui deems he could end up as a big shot in the cult. From his perspective, his old clan and this cult are pretty similar. There are rotten bastards in both organizations. However, all of a sudden, O stumbles on something dangerous. He finds the bodies of his fellow members scattered on the ground, all of them out cold, finding a man in the distance to be responsible for this. Seeing the imminent danger, he tells the rookies to stay behind him and prepare to attack, but the unidentified man quickly closes the distance, With intense speed, he stops O from unsheathing his weapon and tells him to get lost, punching him and sending him into the horizon. Seeing this, so Woon Hui is left speechless. Did he just defeat Captain O in one strike? He questions in disbelief, but seeing is believing. His eyes do not tell lies, and witnessing this situation leaves him in cold sweats. He begins contemplating the situation, realizing that if the squad leader, who was an advanced rank, got taken down in one hit, then even Commander Gu Song-won would be no match for this unknown attacker as well. However, he hasn't heard of a martial artist this strong in his past life. Who the hell is he? He wonders. But the man isn't done yet. Suddenly, he claps, sending a strong wind pressure toward the rookies, which is so intense that everyone falls to the ground, ears bleeding. So Woon Hui too, feeling dizzy, claims he's about to puke at any moment and drops to the ground. However, just then, he feels a strange hot energy in his chest, relieving him of the pain. The ringing in his ears stops, and his wounds recover in a single moment. As a result, he looks up and finds that everyone is on the ground. Everyone except for Jiwa Baek, who is still standing. Jiwa Baek, despite bleeding from his ears, stands in front of the man, announcing he will not let him lay a single finger on his brother. Seeing this valiant display, the man is pleased. You pass, he chuckles out, before smashing Jiwa Baek into the ground. On the other hand, So Woon Hui recovers as well and tries to flee the area, knowing he is no match for this person. But the man notices him as well. Seeing this, So Woon Hui tries to run as fast as he can, but, of course, he is not able to do so and gets knocked out as well. And the next thing you know, squad leader O awakens from his unconscious state to Gu Song-won, who came to investigate, when O failed to show up at the designated time. There, he asks what happened, and O reveals that he faced off against a barbarian, an outsider so strong, he took him out in a single punch. He explains that this unknown man had a huge body, scruffy hair, and was wearing tiger skin as his outfit. Hearing this, Gu Song-won goes into deep thought. Moments later, he explains that he knows who's responsible for this, Elder He Axion of the Four Supremes. Hearing this name, O is left with shivers down his spine, but Gu Song-won continues. According to him, He Axion was staying in the Blood Valley until recently, and is one of the four absolute beings of the Blood Cult, aka the Four Supremes. Among this group, Axion is known as the one with the most eccentric personality. On the other hand, this eccentric madman is seen at an undisclosed location, laughing like a maniac. He sees that someone has already woken up after his attack. This someone is the brat with a destroyed key center, aka So Woon Hui. Not only was So Woon Hui able to endure his clap blasts, but he was also the first one to wake up amongst the rookies he had abducted. What's more, this rookie cadet is also in possession of a small sword, though he is pretty old and worn out. Looks like things are about to get interesting, he proclaims with a sinister look on his face. On the flip side, Gu Song-won and O rush up a mountain to retrieve their rookies. On the way, O apologizes for his actions, claiming all this happened because of his negligence, but Song-won tells him not to be apologetic, since the Supreme Leader isn't someone a mere squad leader would be capable of handling on his own. Basically, he's calling O a weakling. There, O, concerned about the children, wonders if maybe Axion has already killed off the rookies, worried, since intermediate rank newbies are hard to come by. Though not So Woon Hui, the twins have the potential to become advanced rank in the future, but even Gu Song-won isn't sure what will become of them. Even though he knew Axion came to the Blood Valley from time to time, he never expected that crazy elder to mess with the cadets. Soon, they close in on Axion's abode, and he warns to be mindful while addressing the elder, revealing that even in the Four Supremes, Axion is the hardest to deal with. Eventually, they reach the entrance of a cave, and Gu Song-won praises the elder, telling him to bow down to the elder as well. He introduces himself as a commander, but there is no response. Seeing this, O suggests they take a look inside, but he is stopped from doing so, since it wouldn't be a good idea to get on Axion's mirrors. Suddenly, something comes flying out from the cave. Luckily, just by the skin of his teeth, Gu Song-won manages to block it, learning that a mere seed was flumming him, with enough force to send him backward. Seeing him able to block the seed, Axion compliments Gu Song-won. With this, he inquires if the reason these two came here was to retrieve the rookies, and Gu Song-won confirms this, revealing they want to take these children as their cult warriors. However, much to everyone's surprise, Axion begins complimenting the newbies. He deems them to be pretty decent and reveals he was planning on teaching them all a few tricks while they stay here with him. But this leaves Gu Song-wong speechless. As far as he knows, Axion has never taken in disciples before and congratulates the elder on his new journey as a master. But that is his mistake. Axion never even thought about making them his disciples and is just using them to appease his loneliness in this place. On the other hand, O is left perplexed. In his mind, the chance of learning powerful martial arts from a master is already a huge opportunity, not to mention this master is one of the strongest in the entire cult. Not wanting to let Woon Hui gain this opportunity, he decides to intervene. He reveals that one of the children Axion has taken is a weakling with a destroyed ki center, and hence, he was not worthy of receiving the elder's teaching, but he gets struck by an apple and gets knocked down the mountain. As it turns out, Axion isn't too happy about giving his opinions, especially since he is the one who decided to teach them. Enraged, he announces, "I don't want to hear you talking anymore. Get lost." The commander has no other choice but to leave. Knowing he can do nothing now, he takes his leave, commenting on how he could have used Woon Hui as a spy within the Murim Alliance. Back inside the cave, after hearing their conversation, Woon Hui realizes the reason these idiotic Hunan twins became so fearsome was because they were training under one of the four supremes. However, he wonders why he is included in this group now. All of a sudden, Axion gets up, remarking how he has gotten hungry after talking. Consequently, he orders Woon Hui to get him some food within 4 hours, warning him in advance to not even try and run away. If he does so, he will have to be prepared for the worst. As he says this, he picks his teeth with Woon Hui's beloved mementos, sending a shiver down the poor boy's spine. But still, he plans to play along for now and escape whenever he finds an opportunity to do so. As a result, he explains that he doesn't know any martial arts, and neither does he have a weapon. Because of this, it will be difficult for him to find some food and ask to get his weapon back. As such, Axion complies, though he smacks the sword right in his face. Blatant disrespect. All while Sodom is just crying like a baby, disgusted that this barbarian used her to clean his teeth. Meanwhile, Axion gets pissed off at how long these idiotic twins have been sleeping and begins beating the crap out of them. After beating them to a pulp, he grabs them both and begins taking his leave, informing Woon Hui that he wants to eat meat. With this, he disappears into thin air, leaving Woon Hui baffled. Nevertheless, he gets out of the cave, only to be blown away even more. Where the hell am I? He wonders as he looks down the huge mountain. As per him, it would take him 4 hours just to descend this steep cliff, and Axion wants him to go back with some meat this time. Yeah, not happening. On the other hand, Soblam finds something even more concerning, seeing Axion jumping from one jagged to another with ease. Witnessing this, all hopes of Woon Hui ever escaping begin going away. Still, he has to get Axion some meat, or else he will become that crazy madman's slave for the rest of his life. As a result, he begins making his descent, but only a second later, he slips and falls. Thankfully, a branch is in the way, breaking his fall. As he hangs onto the branch for dear life, he wonders why his life is so tough, despite it being his second one. But hey, look at the bright side. At least he managed to get down pretty fast. Regardless, he's still miles away from being at the bottom. And so, 4 hours pass in a blink of an eye, and Axion returns to his cave only to see Woon Hui is still dawdling on the cliff. Seeing this, Axion is pretty pissed and questions if this brat is prepared to die. But Woon Hui couldn't be happier to see this crazy old man. "I have missed you, sir," he claims, leaving Axion surprised at his words.